Good afternoon. Welcome on into another episode of From Day One. This afternoon, we're going to head out to the state of Kentucky, where for public safety, auditor thinks he's going to file a complaint at the county jail. Let's find out what happens.
There you are.
Hey,
Did he want to, he's got our complaints there. Oh, there you are. I'm Chris.
John,
Nice to meet you, John.
well, you mind turning around, put your hands behind your back? You have an active warrant
For what?
from 1999, possession of marijuana.
You're full of shit.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you
Turn
are.
around.
I have never had marijuana.
Turn around, put your hands behind your back.
I didn't cover this arrest initially for various reasons. Firstly, the arrest had nothing to do with his auditing or quote activism. Secondly, the arrest was related to an outstanding warrant stemming from a probation violation that occurred over 25 years ago. For Public Safety's alleged probation violation originated from a guilty plea for possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. Certainly not the crime of the century. However, what transpired after the arrest is what really piqued my interest.
And the truth is, that never happened. I was never cited. I have never had any drugs or alcohol related incidents.
Just 1 second there. I think I got it back.
Involving police of any sort. So this whole entire case from 1998, not 99 like John Goldsboro, the arresting officer, said, was concocted out of thin blue air. And for an entire year now, I have been defending myself and proving my innocence over a case that never truly existed for me.
For me at least, the intriguing aspect of this story lies in the conspiracy theory that emerged. Following the arrest, For Public Safety, also known as Chris, embarked on a years-long crusade to prove his innocence, suggesting either an imposter using his identification during the drug charge citation, or an elaborate conspiracy involving the Kentucky State Police, the Hardin County, Kentucky prosecutors, and multiple counties coordinating their attack on Chris throughout the entire state. While both scenarios seem unlikely to me, I maintained an open mind to the possibility that something was awry. I listened intently as Chris and his girlfriend Tiffany proclaimed on multiple occasions over the past year that they possess solid evidence supporting his innocence. In today's video, we will examine all the evidence they presented to their audience and the courts, starting from the weakest and concluding with what I believed could genuinely establish the existence of a conspiracy. Initially, I planned to wait until a conclusive finding had been reached before producing this video. However, the last piece of evidence I awaited has finally surfaced on YouTube, revealing not only that Chris repeatedly lied to his audience, but also that he lied on the stand during his probation revocation hearing. This entire saga is exceptionally wild, but I believe I've finally been able to make sense of the whole thing. Before we continue, please be aware that I may repeat myself several times throughout the video due to its convoluted nature, so please bear with me. Also, it took me combing through 15 plus hours of their content to properly tell this story, so be forewarned, it is a little lengthy. Without further ado, let's jump right in.
Excuse number one.
After going through all the case file, I found so many issues. There could be an imposter, okay? There could be someone that was using one of my licenses from back then. I am not 160 pounds. I am 240 pounds. The identification details of the individual they were supposedly looking for the past 25 years for a joint was 160 pounds. That ain't me.
Chris is telling the truth here. He's certainly not 160 pounds in 2023. But remember, this happened 25 years ago. So what did he look like then, you may ask? Well, he happened to look like this, which seems to be around 160 pounds. This is just a small example, but I'm trying to establish a pattern of him throwing anything and everything against the wall that he thinks will strengthen his argument with his audience.
Excuse number two. It wasn't me. Honest.
In the next clip, we watch as Chris tells his audience that the alleged defendant in this case never came to court at all, thus, conspiracy.
Well, how was the court going to keep up with this alleged individual? Well, they didn't. Nobody was ever summoned. Nobody ever received a warrant. Nobody ever learned that they had a court date. Now they're saying to us, the people that we're dealing with, are saying that I, back in '98, came to court and pled guilty. However, the records that are available indicate that the person didn't show up for court. Never showed up.
So, per Chris, this is all a complete fabrication because the person that allegedly pleaded guilty to this crime never actually came to court, much less started participating in drug classes that were part of the plea deal. However, months later on November 29, 2023, during his probation revocation hearing, we find out otherwise.
On September 14, 1998, the defendant was arraigned, and the case was continued for a pretrial conference on September 23, 1998. On September 23, 1998, the defendant appeared with a private attorney, B.J. Holycross, and entered a plea of guilty to the possession of marijuana. The defendant signed the terms and conditions of probation in the court file. On October 8, 1998, court is heard, the defendant met with CAPS and signed paperwork at CAPS on that separate date. On November 12, 1998, the defendant's court costs were paid in full.
So neither Chris nor his attorney contested these dates with the prosecutor. Therefore, when Chris claimed, quote, no one was ever summoned to court, or when he asserted, quote, the person never showed up for court at all, it is evident that he was not being truthful. Additionally, this has significant implications for his argument regarding an imposter or a case of stolen identity. The foundation of his claim suggesting that someone else showed up to court other than him collapses when confronted with the fact that not only did someone appear and plead guilty, but they also paid the associated court costs. This obviously raises questions about the plausibility of someone stealing Chris's identity and then willingly engaging in legal proceedings, including paying court fees. The prosecutor made the same argument.
And Judge, he apparently claims that an imposter was the one charged in that case. And that just does not make sense. And why not? Why does that not make sense? Your Honor knows you've been doing this a long time. It's not rare for somebody to lie about their identity to the police. That happens. Very often, the ones that get away with it are family members, often siblings, who know enough identifying information to seem credible. But in all those cases that I've ever seen, and I would guess that the court has seen, what happens after that arrest or citation? Imposters do not come back to court, Your Honor, at all, let alone multiple times, as was done in this case. Imposters do not hire private attorneys to appear with them in court. Imposters do not come to an appointment with CAPS on a separate date to sign the CAPS paperwork, as was done in this case. Imposters do not pay court costs at a later date, as was done in this case.
The fact that someone showed up to court, pleaded guilty, started participating in probation, and paid court fees, I think officially decimates any claims that someone actually stole his identity. Let's continue.
Number 3. Hit me with your best mugshot.
So Chris tried another argument to support his claim of an imposter or a conspiracy against him. He correctly pointed out the absence of a mugshot or fingerprints in the file is yet another reason. Let's check that out.
So in the case file, I learned that there would be a mugshot from the booking, a booking photo from the original arrest. The booking photo. That's huge. This is huge. So there's no booking photo from the 98 and 99 stuff. Everything else is there. It's almost like somebody removed it before I went and got the case file, because it would have to be there. It'd have to be there. It's not there. Booking photos. Well, then again, yes, there was, but they don't have them anymore, and that's part of what puts them in a better position to use a case from 1998, right? So, and I think that they have the burden of the proof, right? They have the burden of proof because they're not going to show the fingerprint. They're not going to show the mugshot in that courtroom. So if you guys won't do that, then why shouldn't I be released? Obviously, there's a reason you're not going to show that to the judge. Why would it be? There's only one answer I can think of. If you have it and you won't show it to them, the only thing that means to me is there's a reason you won't show it. What is that reason? Guys, put in chat what that reason is. I'm not even going to say it. I'm going to let you say it.
Chris has been adamant this entire time that they were hiding the mugshot because it would show that it wasn't him. That would obviously be some solid evidence if a mugshot ever existed. Let's listen into what the officer that cited Chris in '98 said on the stand during the probation revocation hearing.
All right. Can I approach the witness?
You may.
Can you identify that document?
Yes, sir. It is a uniform citation that I had issued.
So even though Chris knew this, and what he didn't tell his audience is that no one was arrested or booked for this crime. The officer, seen here testifying on the stand, that it was a universal citation and a summons to court on a completely different date. Of course no mugshot was ever in the file because no one was ever arrested that night, only summoned to court later.
Excuse number 4, Meade County Prison Blues.
This next particular excuse was, at the time, the primary reason I remained open-minded and opted to listen to his explanation before forming any conclusive judgments. Chris repeatedly asserted that it couldn't possibly be him because he possessed physical evidence proving he was in jail in a different county when someone was purportedly completing his probation a full hour away from where he was incarcerated. Physical proof. Huge, right?
And so, the thing that bothers me so much is that I was in jail 45 miles away at the time that this alleged person was signing documents and taking drug tests. So peeing in a cup, showing ID to the probation officer, signing a paper on a date and saying, I'm here, I'm doing this CAP program. CAP is a drug treatment program, prove you're not on drugs. And but this person is on record in this file saying, I am here on this date. 2 of those meetings, I was in jail 45 miles away, and I have proof of it right here. I have proof that I never left that jail during the time that this person went to 2 CAPS meetings. So how is that not enough, is my question. I don't understand. I mean, it's proof, right? Isn't that proof, guys? 1 for yes, 2 for no. They screwed up and didn't realize, the case that we picked couldn't have been him. He was in jail somewhere else, far away. I think they were...
Hey, you have someone asking, what county were you in jail?
Meade County, Brandenburg, Kentucky, and that's 45, maybe 50 miles away, and they never transported me out of the jail for any reason. So what I'm going to do on Monday is I'm going to bring the records that prove that it couldn't have been me. I was actually in a jail in a place called Meade County, Kentucky, 45 miles away at the time this alleged person, who was supposed to have been me, according to them, was signing documents and pissing in a cup. Couldn't have been me.
And boom, finally, here we go. Here we have some proof that there was either an imposter or it was this grand conspiracy. Did Chris finally run into some tyrants? Per what he was telling his audience, his own records that he's going to be showing the courts in a couple of days prove that it couldn't have been him. This thing is over, right? Let's see what he said directly after that court appearance.
There's nothing I can do. And there was nothing that this attorney could do in his eyes on that level, because it just felt like it was just too much to argue to prove that we didn't do it, given that we don't have the right records to prove that. So he's depending on me being able to prove where I was on 3 days for 25 years ago. Like, how would you?
I don't know how you could do it, Chris. You're the one that said you had the proof. You claimed only days prior that you could prove it. Here's what you said.
So what I'm going to do on Monday is I'm going to bring the records that prove that it couldn't have been me.
What happened to these records, Chris? Surely you weren't lying to your audience. Hell, I was even falling for it at this point.
And it